Welcome to the Sage Advice Podcast, transforming the way people think and work so their organizations can thrive. Well, hi everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Ed Kless, and today's episode is cut from another podcast of which I am the co-host, The Soul of Enterprise, which is also sponsored by Sage. The Soul of Enterprise is dedicated to belief that business has a spiritual, though not necessarily religious, component. I hope you enjoy this excerpt. If you do, please visit www.thesoulofenterprise.com for more.
You wrote, the point here is to convert you to a humane, true liberalism.
Yep.
And that capitalism, and you don't like that word, and you like innovism, I think, has raised the real income per person of the poor since 1800 by over 3,000%, which you call the Great Enrichment. This is like the greatest untold story of the world, but how did it happen, Professor?
Well, it's in the first place, it's very strange that it's not told front and center. It's certainly true, but my friends on the left and many on the right are always saying, well, we can do better, or actually things were better in the olden days, or something like that. And it's not true. It's a factor of 30 increase for the poorest among us. And as Ronald Reagan said in the piece that you played at the beginning, I think it was on the air, I'm not sure it was, the great thing that changed, and not just recently, but in the 19th century and then going into the 20th century, was that people were liberated from old hierarchies, from old bosses. A European asked a free American in the 19th century who his master was. You know, everyone in Europe and Sweden and France had a master. And he replied, "My master ain't been born yet." And that freedom, freedom to try things out, that's what made the modern world. It was, in my word for it, and it's an old word, is liberalism. Not in the modern American sense, but in the old sense of Adam Smith and John Stuart Mill. It's free people who made us rich. In fact, the title of a new book that Art Carden and I are coming out with in the fall is from the University of Chicago Press. It's called "Leave Me Alone and I'll Make You Rich." and I think that's the essence of it.
Yeah, it's such a powerful argument because we continue to hear all these materialist explanations, and yet you destroy these or take them down one by one because you point out that in the old days, especially around Europe, the only way to get honor was by being a soldier or being a priest.
Exactly.
And these things started, and these ideas started to change. We started to accept creative destruction. We no longer looked at innovation as a sin. I mean, innovation was considered a sin or a hearsay, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a bad word. You didn't want to innovate. My God, that would disturb things. We don't want to disturb things. We want what they called in Elizabethan times the great chain of being, from the king to the household dog, and everyone had a master. And it was all frozen. If you were born to be a milkmaid, that's what you were forever. And so this turn to liberalism, as first as an idea, really in the 18th century. All men, said Thomas Jefferson, are created equal. He didn't really mean it because he had large numbers of slaves, but that idea spread, and in the 19th century started to get actually implemented. The ending of slavery, the ending eventually of the subordination of women in the 20th century, the end of imperialism, and all the hierarchies went. And it turned out that these ordinary people were fantastically creative. I mean, I like to talk about Malcolm McLean, the trucking company, small trucking company owner in North Carolina, who in 1956 invented the container. Now, it's not a really complicated idea. Let's make some strong boxes and pile them on top of each other on a ship or a train. But it's revolutionized our supply chains. And it came out of a free man's life.
Right.
So freedom made for enrichment.
For more sage advice, visit and subscribe at sageadvicepodcast.com.